Hey everyone, tarekith here, and today I'm going to be looking at the Red Qunexus from Keith McMillen Instruments, or KMI. This is a pretty new unit, and it's meant to replace their previous Qunexus, which you can see right here. I've had the original Qunexus since it first came out. I probably had one of the first in the US. One of their local sales reps used to live right down the street from me and let me borrow a pre-production unit, and I jumped right on it when it came out. I'm a big fan of one of these. They're very responsive once you set them up to kind of respond to your playing style. It's portable, it's super durable. It's just a really nice unit to have around for playing synths when you don't want a full-size keyboard. However, I just broke this out for the first time in quite a while recently, and I realized that this soft touch plastic that it uses, this black plastic, is starting to degrade. It's getting all slimy and sticky, and generally just not very pleasant to touch. This isn't unique to KMI. Some other manufacturers have used this kind of soft black plastic. Ableton with their Push 2 comes to mind. Mine's also starting to degrade a little bit, so it's unfortunate. It looked really nice when it was new, but now it's just kind of a sticky mess, and I don't really enjoy using it or even touching it. I've heard of hacks where you can use like isopropyl alcohol and a bunch of elbow grease to kind of rub off the soft coating and get it back to hard plastic, but it sounds like a pretty long-winded process, and I didn't really want to mess with that. So I ended up picking up one of the new Qunexuses, the red version, which coincidentally, happily, has some new features added. They will also add these new features to the old units in a firmware update, but they come built in right out of the box on the new units. Aside from the bright red color, which quite frankly isn't really my thing, but I'll live with it. It also has a new hard plastic shell now. They no longer use that soft touch plastic, so you don't have to worry about that degrading. It still feels exactly as durable as before. All the ports are the same. It's got new legending printed on here to cover some of the shift functionality. Some of the new features are an arpeggiator and a built-in step sequencer that is built right into the unit. And that's all accessed by holding on the shift button and using various different button combinations. So they've printed right on the case what some of those are to make it easier to remember. One other new thing with this new unit is it now comes with a simple MIDI out port. This connects with a micro USB to the MIDI expander port on the side. It's just a standard female DIN plug for MIDI, so if you wanted to play hardware synth with the new Qunexus, it's really easy to do now. You don't have to buy the breakout box. You still need a USB cord to power it, but otherwise it's pretty simple to do, and this is actually included in the box, and I didn't see that mentioned anywhere on their website, so just a good heads up. It's a lot easier to play with hardware synths now thanks to this little adapter. So let's dive in and take a closer look. I'll show you some of the new functionality of the unit, kind of tell you what I think about it, and then we'll do a quick recap here after I do that. Okay, here we are with a closer look at some of the new functionality that has been added to the Qunexus. I have this right now connected to my laptop. I'm running Ableton Live, and I have a wavetable instrument in there. And the reason I did that is because one of the first things I wanted to show you is that KMI has now added a dedicated MPE, MIDI polyphonic expression mode to the Qunexus. Like a lot of the new functionality, you get to that by holding down Shift, and then there's this MPE toggle right here. You turn it on to make it flash. And I have the Qunexus's tilt control, which is basically when you rock the keys. I have the tilt control set to control slide, which is what normally the extra parameters called an MPE. So here in the wavetable, as I rock my finger on the keys, it's actually changing the wavetable. And you can do that individually for each note, which is like the main benefit of MPE. So anyway, it's really nice that they added that. It's a lot easier to set up with all the new MPE compatible software and hardware coming out these days. The older Qunexus could always do this with channel rotation, they called it, but now they've just kind of adopted the more modern phrase of MPE instead of calling it channel rotation. So the other new functionality they've added is an ARP and a sequencer built into the hardware itself. Let's take a look at the ARP first. Again, I'm going to hold Shift and then press ARP. I can choose ARP or sequence, so we'll do ARP. One of the things you might not realize about the Qunexus at first is that you actually have to press play in the sequencer to use the ARP. If I just play like this, there's no arpeggiation happening. If I hold Shift and press play, now I can arpeggiate. And with the ARP, there's about, I think, 6 to 8 different patterns, up, down, random, forward, backward, things like that. You can also change the division for the ARP. So if I hold shift and press division, now these let me choose like whole notes, half notes, quarter notes. Let's put it on 16th notes. That's pretty fast because the tempo built in right here, if I hold shift and press tempo, is showing me it's 126, so it's 1, 2, and 6. That's fine for this demonstration. I'm not going to change it, but you can change the tempo and apply swing as well. So, in addition to changing the note divisions, you can also change the gate value for the ARP. So if I hold shift again and press gate, it's set to full right now. I can make it really short. Let's try shorter notes. Let's change the gate again, make it long. So all in all, not too bad. That's a pretty fully featured ARP. Nice having it built into the Qunexus. The other thing I think people will be interested in is the new sequencer functionality. You get a 3-track sequencer. So when I hold shift and press sequence now to bring up the sequencer, if I press track, it'll let you select any one of the 3 tracks over here. To record something, you basically just hold record and then start playing. So it started playing as soon as it looped around. You just hold shift and press stop to stop the sequencer if you want, and to clear it as well. So all in all, pretty nice features. I don't really have much use for the sequencer myself, but I could see this really being really popular with hardware setups where people have like modular rigs. To have like built-in 3 tracks of sequencing or an ARP is really handy. If I remember correctly, if you want to use the ARP, it does take over track 1 of the sequencer, so you can't have like 3 tracks of ARPs, but you can use the ARP with the sequencer as well, as long as you're aware of the downside of losing 1 track of sequencing. But like I said, I'm really happy with this for the most part. It's really playable. I use the MP emote a lot. It's very sensitive. I'm not having to press very hard to get that kind of full range of control. It's repeatable. It's a lot easier to play and a lot more sensitive than you would imagine for something this price range and this small. So that's it for the kind of the deep dive on some of the new features. Everything else for the Qunexus is the same as the original version if you're familiar with that. I just wanted to cover some of the new things, not like all the functionality. Let's step back and I'll give you my final thoughts on this. Okay, so that was a quick little overview of the new Red Qunexus. Like I said, I didn't really go much into the sequencer functionality. It's not something I really plan on using, so I haven't dived too deep into that part of the manual. What I did read, it seems pretty easy to set up, and it's something I don't think most people have problems with. Overall, I think it's a really nice upgrade. The fact that it's like MPE compatible right out of the box now, you just have to engage a mode, is really handy. The step sequencer and the ARP are great for people who need that kind of thing. The fact that they now include this little MIDI breakout cable so you can play it with hardware synths a little bit easier without having to purchase a $70 expansion module is nice. And then having like all the different functionality printed right on the case, because there's a lot more of that now. Access from the shift button is super handy as well. Definitely not a fan of the huge bright red. I hope eventually they release like a hard black version, but for now it'll work. And I can say that I still highly recommend this. It's portable, it's durable, it's really responsive, it's easy to set up and customize however you want. There's really not much to like about this. And as an added bonus, these red ones actually seem to be a little cheaper right now online than the original black ones. So yeah, it's hard not to recommend this. That's it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll answer them when I can. Thank you.